It's the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast with your hosts, the Wolf and Action Jackson, who are keeping rock alive by talking classic rock, hard rock, progressive rock, heavy metal, 80s music, early MTV, UK vs. US chart success, and much more. This is the home of classic album and live concert reviews and your place for interviews with artists and legends. You're rocking with the Wolf. Hey out there, rock and rollers. Welcome to episode number 197 of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast. Brought to you by me, your host, Mac B. the Wolf, and I will be joined, as always, by my partner in crime from the East Coast of the U.S., Mr. Gary Action Jackson. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in to last week's episodes on the Beatles, Abbey Road, as it's turning 55. Living right off Abbey Road for 3.5 years was an important, cool time in my life, and we just figured it would be a great time to review the album as it's hitting 55, hitting a big milestone there. And I hope that you heard First Concert Memories 14, which just came out recently, with our buddy Scott Holiday from Rival Sons, talking about a fateful night when he got a knock at the door, and there were 3 California girls there saying, "Hey, buddy, come with us right to the Hollywood Bowl. We got a ticket to see Tom Petty. All you got to do is hop in the car." And not only did he hop in the car, but they brought him a nice little surprise for him during the show. It was a fun conversation. It's a great story. I hope you tune in if you haven't already. Now, this week, we had to address something huge in the music news scene, okay? And that's that Oasis, once the biggest band in the world, and certainly the biggest band in the UK throughout the 90s and early 2000s, are getting back together. Liam and Noel Gallagher are putting their swords down for a bit to do shows in the UK in the summer of 2025. It started out as 14 shows in 5 different places: Cardiff, Edinburgh, Manchester, London, and Dublin. They added a few more. It's up to 17, but they all sold out. Now, I'm not going to get into how or whether I got tickets or not. I'll save that for the end of the show. We recorded this show just a day after they announced the reunion. As I'm recording this intro and outro, it's a week later. So a few other things have transpired, which I'll talk about a little bit at the end of the show. But the bulk of this is me and Jackson reacting to the announcement that Oasis are back together, what that's going to mean for rock and roll, what it's going to mean in the UK, what it's going to mean for the brothers, and what it's going to mean for us, because I've always wanted to see Oasis in the UK. I promised my young daughter that if Oasis got back together, I would find a way to take her. And so that's a mission of mine that I'm going to try to fulfill one way or the other. But remember, we do have a few announcements that have taken place between the week that we first recorded our initial reaction and what's transpired since. So you got to stay tuned to the end to kind of hear all of that. But first, we got a little bit of business to take care of. As always, we like to mention we are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a family of over 100 shows. You can learn more at pantheonpodcast.com or follow on socials at PantheonPods. And we give a big shout out to our sponsor, rarevinyl.com, who is based in the UK, folks. And yes, who have tons and tons of cool Oasis stuff. If you want original LPs, first print, they got them. You want picture discs, they got them. You want the hard to find singles, whether it's CDs or 12-inch, they got them. They've got Japanese imports. They've got magazine with them on the cover. They've got posters. They've got tour programs. They've got all sorts of amazing stuff for Oasis. And the cool thing is you can use the code UGLY at checkout and you can save 10% off one entire order. Not just one item, but one entire order. So if you want to gear up for this big Oasis reunion, get a rare box set, get a rare import, get some first edition of the albums that you always wanted but never had, go to rarevinyl.com. Use the code UGLY and save yourself a big fat 10%. Your record collection is going to thank you. Now back to Oasis. It's been 15 years since they were together, and people have been trying to get them together for a long time. And apparently, over the last 5 years, it almost happened a few times. But things like COVID and solo tours and just life kind of started to get in the way and prevent all that from happening. And I guess now the time is just right. And because it made such huge news around the world, it was all over the Twitter and the social feeds, it was what everyone was talking about, I figure, hey, let's do it. Let's talk about what this Oasis reunion is meaning to us at this moment, and maybe we'll do some new hot takes over the next 10, 11, 12 months as the tour gets underway. So here we go. This is me in action reacting to the big announcement that Oasis are getting back together to tour in the summer of 2025 here on The Wolf. So I thought we'd be remiss with the biggest news of the year and of many years coming out just yesterday as we're recording this. And that's that Liam Gallagher and Noel Gallagher, the brothers of Oasis, have announced that they're getting back together in 2025 for 14 dates in the UK and Ireland in the summer, and that there will be more non-European dates in later 2025. Now, this is a big deal. It was all over everything yesterday, all over the Twitters, all over the Instagrams, probably on the TikToks that the kids love so much. He's even on like CNN and Fox News, like big news outlets are like picking this up. It's a big deal. Will it be worth the wait?
I think so.
Yeah.
I really do. I think if they've gone this long and they've finally decided to do it, it's going to be big. I would imagine they've probably got the last incarnation of the band together, would be my guess.
Ah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I assume they would. Because I'm like, why wouldn't you bring Gem in? He was awesome. He's been in the High Flying Birds these last however many years. So if Noel turns off the Birds, he's available. Just got news as we're doing this morning that Bonehead, Paul Bonehead Arthurs will be back in the band.
They're really going to go old school because I was thinking about that and I'm like, that would be cool if Bonehead was there just because it's, nostalgic, but they've had better musicians in there.
Right. Like they're not going to have Tony McCarroll back in the band.
But
because he was a problem. He could not play the drums that well. Now, if the Who aren't touring, you got to believe that Zach Starkey will be on the list, except you have to pay him. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't it be easier to just get someone who's really good who you don't have to pay?
So let's go back to the beginning here.
Okay.
When they announced this thing, all they did was they said Oasis and they said what it was like 8:27. That was it.
At 8 a.m.
Right.
In England.
No other words. That was it. Everybody started freaking out, but we've been down this road before, right? They've been rumored. I mean, they've been broken up for what, 14 years?
15 years, yeah.
15 years. So for 14 years, people have been talking about the Oasis reunion. Liam says, well, he's got my number. Noel's like, well, he's got my number. All you have to do is call. Nothing. Then this finally comes out. Is this really going to happen? Now that it is really going to happen, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I can imagine that they didn't have a bigger tour because is this really going to work out?
Right. Yeah. No. And I saw our buddy Mick Wall on Good Morning Britain or whatever it was yesterday. It's like 8 o'clock. The announcement comes by 8:03. They already have Mick on to discuss what's happening here. And he said that it was the worst kept secret in rock and roll over the last year or so, and maybe over the last 5. Allegedly, what he said was, about in 2019, there started to be thoughts like, okay, yeah, we could come back now. We could put this together. And then in, 2020, COVID hits. Mm-hmm. That breaks the world. And suddenly everybody has shut down for that whole year and most of 2021 as well. So both the brothers go back to their corners. They make their own music, right? They put that out. I remember Liam doing a cool pay-per-view special. He was on the Thames. He basically started on the Thames, and then he played a concert moving west, and he played his own stuff, and he played some Oasis stuff because it was the only concert I was going to get to go to during the damn pandemic there. So I'm like, all right, if Liam's going to do this, I'll do it. And yeah, they floated basically on a barge, so there's no worried about a crowd. There's no worry about people running up and jumping on or getting near and spreading the disease or whatever. And then there's the band on TV. I remember it vividly, and they go by the eye. It's like, big, stupid fucking circle, don't give a fuck about you. It's just ragging on the eye, which is funny because it's just a tourist thing anyway. And they eventually did make a live album out of it, which you can pick up. But then they both have done tours separately. They both put out records separately. Liam this year put out an album with, who was that, John Squire? Yeah, it was John Squire. I did pick it up. just because he was Liam Gallagher, right?
Yeah.
And John Squire was with the Stone Roses. Of course, the Stone Roses were big in the late 80s, early 90s, certainly in the UK. They had the one album that did pretty well here. And Noel, I guess, worked with them back in the day when he started to realize, hey, this is what I need to do. But I got the album and all the songs were written by John Squire. It wasn't even like John and Liam. They're all written by John Squire, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, Liam still needs Noel to write a song, but he does not need Noel to perform, because last year he played Nebworth to 250,000 people or something like that.
Right.
They all showed up and went nuts. This year he was touring the 30th anniversary of, what's their first album's called?
Definitely Maybe.
Definitely Maybe.
There we go.
Yeah, singing the whole album, not in order, singing the whole album and all the B-sides and all the stuff that kind of was recorded around that time. It would have been a killer show to see. I'm sorry that I missed that. But then, the rumors started to pop up. And then you start to read stuff like, the stuff they say to each other is not that nasty anymore. It just isn't like it was 10 years ago. The stuff they're saying to each other is a little more chill. And when you see Liam's video, where he's talking about, there were 3 of us, brothers. And now Liam's sitting in an empty chair because their other brother is sticking with Noel, because you stick where the talent is, guys. So I know blood is blood, but talent and money are totally different things. And you could see that he was not happy that Noel's not around. But it was Liam who broke it and pissed Noel off. So it's kind of Liam's job to apologize, right?
But he's never going to do that, though.
Well, right. So that's
right. Yeah,
like it's never going to happen.
Yeah. And there was a clip of, and I don't know what year this was, but Noel's on stage and somebody asked him about his brother. Hey, where's your brother? Where's your brother? He's like, he's in the back there, or doing whatever. And my other brother, I don't know, he's probably at the house looking himself in the mirror or something. Yeah. Who knows? Just stuff like that. So
when I saw him in Indy, hey, where's Liam? He goes, where's Liam? He's in the back selling T-shirts. It never freaked him out. It never upset him at all. He always had a line for it, so it didn't bother me. I saw Noel last summer here in America on a co-headlining tour, if you can believe that, with Garbage, which I was shocked by. I'm like, why doesn't he just headline it? I don't get it. But that is part of it. They may be enormous in the UK, big in Europe, South America, Australia, Japan, or whatever. They're just not that big here.
So if they can make this work, what are the odds of them coming to America? Because even if they do, it's not going to be. I wouldn't think it would be a huge tour. It will be the big cities, and that's probably going to be about it.
Well, yeah, it's hard to know. Do you think they could fill Giant Stadium? I don't think they can. Now, maybe after 15 years in that market, could they fill Giants? They could probably get close. They would probably put more than a full Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
But could they do 25 dates around the nation in stadiums? I don't believe they could.
Probably not.
I already had people asking me, well, they say non-European dates after these like UK and Ireland dates. You think they're coming to America? And I said probably not, because if they're playing stadiums, and if they went to South America, they would play stadiums. And if they went to Australia, they played stadiums. They went to Japan, they'd have, huge gigs. If they come to America, they could probably play arenas.
Right.
They would probably play amphitheaters if it were still the summer and fall, but they wouldn't play stadiums, to me. Maybe they would play 1 or 2, but the whole tour of America just wouldn't be stadiums. It just wouldn't be.
Right. And would it be worth it to come over here for 2 or 3 stadium shows?
Right.
One on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. Maybe, I can't imagine they would be that big, like in Dallas, to fill out
Chicago,
the
maybe.
Stadium.
I don't know.
And that would
they
be
can't
it.
fill Jerry World. That's crazy, man.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah. There's just not that much call for it. And why even bother? You want to hit home runs with this deal. You don't want, well, you're having a little problem selling tickets in the United States, and to haul yourself all the way over here for that? Nah, it's not worth it. They're already going to sell out, 4 nights at Wembley Stadium?
Wembley? Yeah, in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to try to get tickets at 4 a.m. for us.
Okay.
I'm going to try.
Right.
I'm worried about what the tickets are going to cost.
That's
I
That's
know.
going to be big. I still need both of my kidneys, so let's
I
keep
know.
that in mind.
I'm wearing my
Now,
David Gilmour shirt today, which I can afford, a $25 David Gilmour shirt. I can't afford $900 to see him in Madison Square Garden. I just can't, David. I'm sorry. And it's
yeah.
sad too, because he basically just teased. I understand that you want to hear more Pink Floyd stuff from the 70s. I understand that. So I'm going to incorporate more of that in this time
Oh
and not
boy,
just all of my solo stuff. I'm like, oh man,
you're
okay.
killing me.
450 to sit in the back. Okay, yeah, get a plane ticket plus a room. No, I'm still not doing it.
So let me ask you this question.
Hmm.
For Oasis, if we can't get tickets,
Right.
but if they do like a simulcast deal, we could go see that, like in a movie theater.
I would totally do that, and
Okay.
that would make for a show. And I would still hold out hope that in maybe 2026 they still consider coming to the U.S. I just
hmm
doubt, and I could be wrong about this, but I doubt they're going to come play the U.S. because Noel has played the U.S., but it's usually as an opening act
hmm
or as a headliner in a theater. I mean, I saw him open for Snow Patrol in America. I'm like, why is he opening for
Okay.
Snow Patrol? This is ridiculous. And I don't know how much Liam has even toured America, to be honest with you, since they broke up. I don't think he's that big of a fan. He'd rather be where people just worship him
Right.
and get the huge crowds. He played Nebworth in England without his brother. He couldn't even fill a theater here, necessarily. And the fact of the matter is, I saw Oasis in the kind of final days of their touring. And the first time I saw them, they played a amphitheater and it was packed. I mean, packed. I'm like, okay, good. This is in Ohio, though, where they love rock music.
Mhm.
Then the next two times I saw them, they were in theaters. They were in the Taft in Cincinnati. They were in the Ryman in Nashville. They're just playing theaters. And I'm like, why would they even come here if on 4 different continents at that time they could play arenas and amphitheaters, maybe even stadiums. But in America, they're playing theaters. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even bother.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I mean, I understand that it's probably cool to come over here and say that you're going to tour America, but the hassle is not worth it.
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, but I don't know. I guess you could still hold out hope. I mean, would they go to Canada? Would they go to Mexico? If they do that, they might as well come to North America. And like
Hmm.
you say, maybe just play a few dates where you can play the big venues. Maybe they
Right.
just play Staples Center, MSG, something like that, United Center in Chicago or something like that.
Yeah.
Select dates, but they wouldn't be stadium dates. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it's a long way between now and July of 2025. So much could happen. You always joke that if they announce this, go to the first show, go to the second show, but don't get tickets after that because the odds of it falling apart are so good.
And that's why I think this is very tentative here because they've only got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 venues here that they've got. I know there are multiple dates, but to me, this is like they're hedging their bets. I don't know how this is going to work. Can they get along? Is this, are the old feelings going to come back again? Now everything's cool. Everybody's cool. Everybody's happy. Everybody's smiling. It's great. But give them one bad show where Liam is like, you know what? I'm not feeling this tonight. And then we're right back to where we started again.
I would
And
like to
this
think
guy
that
can be
Liam has grown
trusted.
up.
I
I would like to think Liam has grown up.
Sure. I like to think a
He's
lot
got
of things
kids
too.
now, right? That are basically adults, and he's seen the road out there on his own. Of course, a lot of people believe the reason that the time was finally right was because Noel just got divorced from Sarah McDonald and it allegedly cost about 20
Rut,
million quid.
Rut-row.
And so it's like, all right, I lose 20 million quid. How can I get 20 million quid back? Well, I'll just call up my asshole brother. Say you want to
right.
do a tour. In those 14 shows, they will make each more than 20 million quid
Oh
would
my
be my
goodness.
guess.
I can't even imagine. I mean, to sell out Wembley Stadium 4 times, that's crazy to me. Yeah, the money will be no problem for this deal. Man, I can't believe writing a check for $20 million.
I know, but so they're playing Cardiff and Wales first. Now, I was actually thinking maybe we should try to get those tickets because we've never been to Wales. It would be cool. Cardiff is kind of a cool place. Hey, maybe Jeff Downs is over there. He's Welsh, and
There you go.
maybe he shows up to the gig. And like you say, hey, it might not make it to the next weekend. You know, because I think then after that, then there's Edinburgh shows, there's Manchester shows, of course. And although that would be incredible being in their hometown, it would also could be a real mess too. And I think I'd rather be in London. I know how to get in and out of Wembley. I know where the train is. I know where the cars are.
Perhaps be some hooligan-ing.
Yeah, because I saw that during the Euro final. So I'm like, yeah, you know. But I mean, Wembley, I know how to get in and out of. So let's just stick to that. They're also going to Dublin because the Gallaghers are huge there. 14 dates in the UK and Ireland.
I would be interested to see how this goes because from what I've seen on the social media, the tickets are already good. They're already sold as far as what I could see. I mean, there are people saying, "Hey, I've signed up for an email and I haven't gotten the email yet," and the official band website is saying, "Hey, we understand. You know, we'll get you the pre." I don't even know what it is. It's like a chance to stand in line to get the tickets or something like that.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
that's already I haven't even
crashed.
Figured that out. Yeah, it's crashed because I couldn't even get on it. So I'm like, okay, great. So I just get on ticketmaster.co.uk and just pray.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is on the official website. If you go down to the bottom, we strongly advise that those wishing to purchase tickets register in advance for the sale with a relevant ticket agency. So it's already going to be
started.
A mess. Yeah. And they've got links to Ticketmaster UK, gigsandtours.com, and Ticketmaster IE, whatever that is.
I don't even know if I want to know.
No, probably not. But Cardiff would be fantastic. I wouldn't hate to go back to Edinburgh and Dublin. Manchester would be that would be overwhelming. They're playing 1, 2, 3, 4 dates there. That's going to be a mess. We love you, Manchester, but...
Yeah, they're playing at the Etihad where Man City plays.
Oh, my goodness.
Which I'm surprised they let them do that because those hooligans are going to rip up their turf. Their pitch is not going to be as quality as it once was. I just have a feeling.
Maybe they'll just take the whole field out for the 4 dates.
Yeah, I'm still not even seeing that. Yeah, I mean, on OasisNet.
OasisNet.com basically just has a picture of the two of them and the dates on there, and that's it.
Hi, this is Mick Wall, and you are listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London.
And then they also said that despite the fact that What's the Story Morning Glory is turning 30 next year, just as definitely maybe turned 30 this year, they're not necessarily going to focus on those because it has been so long. They're not going to just do, I mean, obviously, are they going to play Champagne Supernova? My guess is they do. Are they going to play Wonderwall? My guess is they do. Are they going to play Don't Look Back in Anger? My guess is they do. But when you do 4 nights at Wembley, you don't have to do the exact same set 4 times. So they could mix some stuff in. They could mix in an Acquiesce. They could do some of their B-sides. They could do stuff from the latter albums. Of course, Don't Believe the Truth is my second favorite Oasis album. So, the stuff's already started being bandied about. What are they going to play? And which covers are they going to play?
Well, the nice part is there's not anybody who's not a huge fan of the band going to show up. There's nobody I was bored tonight, so I just got a ticket for Oasis. Right. We'll see what's up. So they can play pretty much anything, and people will love it.
True, and so there was a generation from 94 to 2009 that grew up with Oasis, being around, being the biggest band in their lives, making new music, always touring, always getting into the tabloids for one reason or another. Always around. Now there's been a whole new generation, 15 years, that have lived without Oasis. And if you're a teenager, say you turn 14 in 2009, you're coming of age, you're figuring out, oh yeah, these guys on Oasis are pretty good. I'll get into them. Okay, well now they're gone. You have to deal with Beady Eye for a couple years, Noel and his Flying Birds, then Liam solo. And while I think it was one of those moments, because Dig Out Your Soul, their last album, was really not that good. It was one of those moments where you actually got more. A lot of times a band breaks up and then there's a couple of parties and it's like, okay, well now it's all watered down and it all sucks. Or maybe one goes on because they were the chief songwriter and singer or whatever, and everybody kind of follows them and then everyone else kind of falls into oblivion. But especially when BDI first came out and then, Noel came out, I was like, this is a bonus. Now we get 2 awesome things. Like when Black Sabbath ditched Ozzy and they got Ronnie James Dio, but then Ozzy got Randy Rhoads and kind of cleaned up a little bit. Suddenly we had two powerhouses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the way I looked at it for Oasis. Noel was doing killer work on his own, and then Liam still has that voice, still has that attitude, but then he had other people to help him write some songs. And he has done a couple of good songs on his own without Noel. So I'm like, all right, this is great. We get the best of both worlds. So now they're back together finally. Noel needs money after the divorce.
Liam needs
Liam always needs money, right? I mean, living on Hampstead Heath is not exactly free. The taxes are due here soon.
I saw a clip with him, and I don't even know what year this is, but he's backstage and he's making tea, and he's like, "Oh yeah, back in the day, I used to have four guys."
people,
yeah, right. So, yeah, no one buys records anymore. We've got to make the operation lean and mean. So I'm sure he's very excited about the giant paycheck. It's just he's got to understand. He's an employee now. Like that's it. And so we'll see if he can fall in line. I'm interested. I wonder why they brought Bonehead back. Only because he hasn't been in the band for quite some time, and it'd be cool to see him, and I'm sure it'd be cool to hang around again. It's just that's an interesting choice.
I totally agree with you, and I thought maybe they'd bring him up at the Manchester gigs, like here's an old member of the family kind of thing. Here's Bonehead. Right. He shaves his head now, so he doesn't look like a 22-year-old who actually looks like he's 48. Now he is in his 50s, and the hair is completely gone, and he looks a lot better. I think he's still a really big deal in Manchester, old Bonehead. Mm-hmm. But I was shocked, to be honest with you. I'm like, just get Gem back.
Right.
It'd be cool if you got Zach, but you don't necessarily need him. You can get a killer drummer. There's, you've got time to figure that out. It'd be cool if they got Andy Bell back on the bass just because he is so talented. He brought so much to the band. But we'll see. I mean, Gem, Andy, got to pay those people. Bonehead, you've been doing nothing. You've been doing nothing all this time. We'll tell you what we're going to pay you. Take it or leave it. Sounds like he took it.
Yeah. Yeah. But the other thing, too, is, has he been doing music? Like, do you remember how to play all these songs, right?
And what about the songs that they're going to play after you left the band? Do you know those pretty well?
Yeah. I just automatically figured that they would have gotten that Don't Believe the Truth band back together.
I know. I wish they had.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be looking that way. But again, we're talking 11 months, 10, 11 months. So much can change between now and then. And there's going to be so much press, and they're both going to end up getting annoyed by it. And so one of them might say something that the other one doesn't like, and then we're going down the slope again.
Yeah.
It can happen so easily. It can happen just like that.
Right. Well, but the thing that stinks is that when does this thing go? The 31st? After that, you've got a lot of people who are going to have tickets that you're going to have to make right. So I'm annoyed at this. Okay, I need you to be a lot less annoyed. We need to do these shows and shut up because I'm not losing this money.
Yeah. I already had some bird take my $20 million. I'm
Correct.
getting it back next year. Going to get a newer, younger bird. This is all going to work out for Noel.
We're going to have an ironclad prenup this time where there's a set payout and that's it. And we're moving on with life.
But I am curious as where else are they going? They said they're going to non-Europe continents. Okay. So that puts about 4 places in play. Australia, Japan, South America, and North America. And as we've already discussed, I sincerely doubt that it's North America.
Were they that big in South America?
Yeah, they can play stadiums like in Sao Paulo and stuff like that. They can absolutely do that.
And they can definitely play stadiums in Australia.
They can. It's so far to go for, I don't know, would they get 7 shows? They could do Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and maybe one in New Zealand. Yeah, they could, if they do 2 nights at each one of those places. What was interesting, though, Jackson, is you look at the dates. They're all weekend dates. They're like Friday, Saturday night or Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing. All of them.
Okay.
So, I mean, now a lot of bands will do that because they have to do flyaway gigs because they only play on the weekends because some of them might have jobs during the week or, because, that's when they can book these gigs is on the weekends. But, I mean, talk about Friday and Saturday at Cardiff, Friday and Saturday, and then again next Saturday and Sunday at Manchester. Friday, Saturday in London, and then next Saturday, Sunday at Wembley. Friday and Saturday at Edinburgh, Saturday and Sunday at Dublin. That's curious to me. That's curious to me because they don't have day jobs. They just don't. Even if Bonehead does, he can quit for a month or something like that, leave, make plenty of money, and then go get a different job. That's curious to me. I mean, it's because the kids are in school. It's July. Even in England, the kids are out of school.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be it. So I don't know why that is, but that's an interesting piece of the puzzle to me.
I mean, I don't know whether you think like more people will show up those days than a Wednesday, but I mean, to me, I don't think it really matters. But
no, you could put it Wednesday, 10 a.m. and there'll be 100,000 people there. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I don't, that's not it. So I don't know what it is, but would they go to Japan over America? Would they go to Australia over America?
Mm-hmm.
And if they did decide to come to America, are they playing arenas? I just don't think they're playing stadiums. I could be wrong. Maybe they could play a couple, but I just don't think they could fill they couldn't fill a tour full of American stadiums.
Okay, wait a minute though. Hold on. If the demand is that big, because I remember seeing stuff about Americans going to Europe to see Taylor Swift.
Right.
Because they literally couldn't get in, or it was twice as expensive here.
It's true.
Would you book American tours and have people come over from Europe who maybe didn't get in the first time?
Okay, now that's an interesting point because actually, yeah, one of my wife's best girlfriends took her kids to Amsterdam to see Taylor Swift because she could get tickets at a much reasonable rate than she could here.
Mm-hmm.
And then plus she gets a trip to Amsterdam out of it, kind of
right.
thing. Don't get me wrong. The whole trip overall was more expensive than the tickets, but the tickets themselves were a lot more reasonable. So
the math worked out for her.
So then but who wants to come to the United States right now with all the violence, with all the crime, with all the political unrest? Who would want to come here if they didn't have to? And the pound is kind of where it usually is against the dollar. It's like, $1.3 to the pound, something like that. So your money will go farther. I don't know. I mean, bottom line is I'm going to see if I can get tickets to England. And then if they come to America,
that's a different deal.
Then it's a different deal. And I could even consider selling my English tickets and saving the whole trip, although my daughter wants to go see her friends from school in London so bad. So we're probably going to make a trip to England one way or the other next summer. And this is my excuse. I'm like, okay, fine. Well, she wants to go see her friends, but Oasis is playing. So, and then of course I'm thinking, well, why don't I get tickets to 2 nights then? Is that even possible? I don't know.
Well, and especially like you said, if they're doing potentially different set lists, that would be cool.
Which you would think they would, especially when they're playing back-to-back nights, but I don't know. We'll see. There's so much talk going to happen in the next 10 months. I just wanted to get a hot take on how do we feel about it, what's the world saying about it, and what do we think we can expect.
Right. I mean, to me, from what I can see right now, the world is very excited for this.
Absolutely.
Very excited. Even after
UK,
14, 15 years of will they, won't they? Very excited. These tickets are going to sell out really quick. I can't wait to see them back together again because it's really ridiculous that they couldn't get something together sooner. I mean, they're both in good health. They're both still musicians. It's not like somebody went and became, I don't know, a doctor or something, like
or
that.
Weighs 300 pounds now or something.
Right.
Like
correct.
that.
I mean, they're ready to go. They still tour. There's no reason other than egos they couldn't do this. So it's cool to see. And here's the other thing. For as popular and successful as Noel was with the High Flying Birds, it's nothing like this. He's not selling out for it. There's always that, like, there's money, but there's ego too. Like, all you've got to do is make one phone call and you're back on top. Come on.
Well, and you knew something was going on because he just recently, done like Cigarettes and Alcohol. I can't sing that like Liam. I mean, I can sing it and it's fine, but I don't have that same passion that Liam does. I'm like half a pint of Guinness on a Tuesday singing it. He's like 10 shots of tequila on a Friday singing it, And I'm like, he wouldn't have said that 5 years ago. Something's going on here. But yeah, I mean, to play stadiums again as a headliner, there's nothing like it.
Right.
And so he's like, okay, I think I'm ready for that again. I just got divorced. And hey, look, last time I think Noel was early 40s. Gem probably was too. Liam was starting to push 40s when they were, still together. And it basically had been Liam's whole adult life. Well, now it's 15 years later. They've had to do things on their own. Their kids have grown up. They still look good. That picture of them to announce it, they look killer. Yes, they're in their 50s, older, sure, but still young enough to deliver a killer show. It's not like they waited till their 70s and now everyone's like, well, this is not even going to be close to the same. This can still be awesome. They still look great. Of course, having all that money should help on that front. I could argue they look better now than they did when Definitely Maybe came out, but that's because, they were still kind of doughy-faced kids, and they only had 2 eyebrows between them. And,
right. Perhaps the haircuts were done, in the dark.
Yeah, or, at a Supercuts or something like that, Now they've got real stylists, they've got real money. They look good. I think it's time, so...
I was going to say, how many stupid bucket hats are coming out for this thing?
So I'm psyched, and I'm also glad they said we're not going to make any new music before the shows. Like, that's not what this is about. We're gearing up to do a tour. They're going to see how these things sell. They're going to sell out in seconds, basically. Right. And then they're going to say, okay, now let's see the other territories we could hit at the end of 2025. So they'll play July, August, and then maybe September, October, maybe into November, depending on where all they want to go.
I mean, you think probably the next stop would be continental Europe, right? That would be the easiest.
Except they said these are the only European dates of the year, are these 14 dates. They're not playing continental Europe in 2025. In 2026, my guess is they go there. And so my question is, okay, you're not doing Europe. You could do Japan, but that's only so many dates. You could do Australia and New Zealand. Again, that's only so many dates. There's like 30 million people in Australia. There's like 70 million in California. Wouldn't you play LA? My guess is they go to South America before they come to North America. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
But
that would make sense.
We'll see. But I am excited. I mean, look, I came onto this band late. I didn't discover them until the early 2000s. And when Don't Believe the Truth came out, I was like, oh my God. Not only did I just discover this band, but they just made one of the best records I've heard in years. This is awesome. I got to see him a few times live. I was psyched about it. And then they went away. So I'm kicking myself for not picking them up on them sooner. But then I'm kicking them for like, hey, I finally got onto you, and now you break up. What's wrong with you? Damn it. So I'm psyched to have them back. I'm psyched to be able to take my daughter to a show, at least in theory. We'll see if that can actually happen. Because I always promised her, if Oasis gets back together, I will take you. Because Oasis has kind of illogically become my 4th favorite band of all time. Like, it's a tie at first. Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Rush. And then 4th place is Oasis. 5th place can move. Today it's Iron Maiden. Tomorrow it's Pink Floyd. Maybe it's The Who one day. Who knows? But 4th place is Oasis solidly. Wow. And I can't take my daughter to see Led Zeppelin. I've taken her to see the Rolling Stones. I can't take her to see Rush. So I'm going to do whatever I can to take her to see Oasis. And to see Oasis in England is not the same as seeing them here in America. It's like seeing Iron Maiden in South America versus seeing them here in North America. It's a totally different scene. It's a madhouse, and it's something that I want to experience.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that this really happens. I don't know. I don't, only because the demand just seems overwhelming. I think they could double all of these dates and still have people waiting for tickets. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. We'll see what happens in the next 10 months. And then we'll see once they go off on Cardiff, the 4th and 5th of July, 2025, how this goes. I can't wait to see footage from the show. I want to see how they look. I want to see how they sound. I want to see what the set list looks like. I'm psyched.
Well, look, they've got time to put together a killer backdrop, killer videos, killer lights, killer everything for the show. They've got time to get rehearsals done, make sure Bonehead's up to speed and, get their drummer in and all that kind of fun stuff. But they've also got time to fall out. And that's what that's my biggest concern, to be honest with you.
Well, the nice part is if they can sell these tickets quick, then you really don't have to do a whole lot of press for this, which is nice because you don't want to see the more they have to be on, what did you say it was, Good Morning Britain or whatever, sitting in the same room, the more time you have for bad things to happen. So if they sell all the tickets, hey, they're already sold. We don't, I mean, maybe they'll do a couple of, pre-recorded things, but that's about it.
And then I'll be curious, okay, and then where do they go? Non-European dates, where do they go from there in the fall of 2025? That will be incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
So that is the first of what could be several hot takes on the Oasis reunion leading up to their first shows in the UK in the summer of 2025. Now, since we recorded that, there are a few things that have transpired that I want to make sure everybody's up to date on. First of all, it looks like Gem Archer is in the band. So they're going to have Bonehead, Gem, and Noel on guitar. And that'll be great. I figured Gem would be in the band somehow, and that has in fact come true. They did add a few more dates, some middle of the week dates, so there weren't 14 dates anymore, there were 17 dates in the UK. All of them sold out incredibly quickly. As far as tickets go, I completely struck out. Okay, I tried, I got up at 3:30 in the morning to give it my best shot. I tried later in the day, it just didn't happen for me. What really pissed me off is that Ticketmaster wouldn't let me in for the first hour on my computer because it said I was a bot. Like, what are you talking about? A bot, dude. I couldn't be a bot if I wanted to. So Ticketmaster can suck me for that, but everybody hates Ticketmaster, so that's not really news. Another thing that's transpired is they said the boys will be traveling separately. Separate planes, separate buses, separate cars, separate helicopters. So Liam can't piss Noel off so bad that Noel just says, screw it, I'm not going through this anymore. And the most interesting bit of news to come out here recently is from our buddy Mitch LaFon from Canada. If you don't know Mitch, he does a rock talk show in Canada, and he's kind of a radio and TV DJ type of personality who knows the business well. He's interviewed a lot of the biggest stars in the world, and he just teased on his Twitter account, if my info is correct, you can expect the following dates to be announced. August 24th, Toronto. August 27th, Chicago. August 30th, East Rutherford. September 2nd, Boston, September 6th, LA, September 11th, Mexico City. Extra nights could be added in each city depending on how sales go. And when that gets announced, then yes, we are going to do everything we can to get to at least one of those dates. And we'll just kind of see how it all works out. But I'm awfully psyched to hear that they will in fact be coming to America. It's not official yet, but Mitch got the original dates before anybody else did, and they were all spot on. So let's assume that these are all correct, and we'll likely add a few more before it's all said and done. Plus, my guess is, since they'll already be in North America, and then the last shows are in Mexico City, they will work their way down to South America for some big stadium shows as well. And I would assume that they're playing East Rutherford, that's Giant Stadium. They're playing Chicago, they'll play Soldier Field. Playing LA, they'll probably play where the Rams play, the great big new mega center, all that kind of stuff. So that is something for us US Oasis fans to look forward to. Look, this is the biggest news that I've heard come out of rock and roll in a very long time. So it's something we had to address. I'm actually a very big Oasis fan. Allegedly, they were supposed to get back together in maybe 2019, but then when COVID came and broke the world, it didn't happen. And then it didn't happen in 2021. And then the guys made new albums anyway, and they moved forward. And then allegedly, again, it was supposed to happen in 2023. Dates were set up, and at the last second, Noel backed out. Maybe it's because he was still married, and if he'd done those dates, his wife would have been able to get a percentage of them. So finally, he finalized his divorce, and now all that money is his. That's speculation. I don't know for sure. But the fact of the matter is, Oasis getting back together is huge news around the world. All 17 dates in the UK sold out in minutes. And now that it looks like they're coming to North America, I'm even more psyched and can't wait to see if we can actually land those tickets. And of course, we'll be making shows about that next year. So stay tuned. We may have more hot takes in Oasis over the next 10, 11 months. And it should be interesting no matter what you think of the band. We got to know something, folks. Hey, did we get something right? Did we get something wrong? Did we miss the point? Did we leave out your favorite part? You got to let us know. You can email us. It's uglyamericanwerewolf@gmail.com. You let us know the bands, the albums, the tours, the concerts, the rock properties you want to hear us talk about here on the show. You can connect with us on socials. We're big on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, a little bit on Facebook. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know who you like. Let us know what you like and what you don't like. Be sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, guys. Downloads are the lifeblood of our podcast. So the more downloads you bring to us, the more we climb up the ranks, the easier it is to get good guests and be able to go do more concert reviews for you. Thanks as always to Pantheon Podcast for making us part of the family. And thanks to our sponsor, rarevinyl.com, who has an amazing selection of Oasis stuff there. They're based in the UK, folks. They've got all the cool stuff, but they've got Japanese imports. They've got singles. They've got LPs. They've got the rare stuff. They've got point of sale stuff. They've got posters. Anything Oasis, you can find it at rarevinyl.com and use the code UGLY. You can save 10% off your entire order. Okay, that's it for this week. We've got more cool album reviews coming. We've got some really cool guests coming up that I know you're going to love. So please stay tuned. And until next time, to all you rockers all around the world, be cool and keep doing what you do to keep rock alive.